Heavenly Delusion is a world with Lovecraftian nightmares, X-Men children, and 2 teens just trying their best to survive this love child of DayZ and Fallout 4 universe, and almost none of it was explained. Even the protagonists have to travel all over Japan to find a single clue about what they're looking for. So what's going on with Heavenly Delusion, and why does the state of the world look like the 2012 Mayan prophecy had just slam dunked the earth for real this time? Spoiler warning, this video contains spoilers from the manga regarding the past events that shaped the world of Heavenly Delusion. It has no major spoilers for most of the bigger reveals. Heavenly Delusion is split into 2 storylines, one for Tokyo and the superhuman children, and the other from Maru and Kiruko. The storytelling jumps back and forth between the past and the present, so sometimes you think something is happening simultaneously, but it's actually 2 separate timelines. The story involves Maru and Kiruko's cross-country trip all over Japan trying to find heaven, which is a place full of tomatoes. But we don't know what heaven is. What exactly is heaven? Before we can even talk of heaven, we have to go back in time. Not Big Bang time, but just in time for a quick recap. So let's rev up that time machine and discuss how things went from bad to worse. And no, we're not killing Einstein. In 1995, director Kami Nakashino and Imanaga Misaka, daughter of an automobile company president, founded Takahata Academy. They envisioned the academy as something that will allow them to sow the seeds of a new era for humanity. Something something, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. You know, that sort of thing. Together they aim to be the very core of society. They're visionaries. To these 2 women, societal standards and norms are very restrictive, too conservative for change, and a natural hindrance to human revolution. Society as a whole doesn't share their vision for humanity's potential, and director Shino herself views it as rotten to the core. Society calls me gay. Between the years 1999 and 2000, Mina, a super advanced version of Windows XP, made a prediction. This prediction, though, is bad news. Like dinosaur wiping bad news. In 24 years, an asteroid the size of Texas will hit Earth, exactly on November 11th, 2024 at 2:14 in the morning. My god, it is probably the most precise prediction ever and the scariest, but since it's hitting on a Monday morning, there's nothing surprising about it at all. It's just like a regular Monday of any year ever. Many dismiss this crazy prediction as some sort of Ancient Aliens episode. Nah, it'll never happen. The joke died 12 years ago. Luffy will find the One Piece twice before this even happens. But the thing is, director Shino believed this prediction. She immediately starts restructuring Takahata Academy into defense position in anticipation of the coming threat. In her head, she probably thinks this is a prime opportunity to set their plans in motion. You know, the become the very core of society plan. And so the brand new Takahata Academy was born. 24 years later, and the academy managed to expand all over Japan and is now one of the biggest schools in the world. I mentioned Takahata Academy 3 times already, now it's the 4th time. Heaven starts with H, but in this story, it starts with Takahata Academy. We don't know exactly what's going on with Takahata Academy. Why do they have children with superhuman abilities? Why is there some mysterious illness that killed one of those kids? Why are there babies with no faces and legs that are straight up nightmare fuel? What is the relationship between Takahata Academy and Heaven? What is director Shino's actual goal? There are so many questions, but barely any of them have answers. So I'll try and give an explanation for every single one of them. Let's go. I'm sure you've noticed by now, but if you haven't already, well, Takahata Academy isn't just a normal school. It's a school for children with superhuman abilities. It's like that Xavier School for the Gifted from X-Men, or Hogwarts. But instead of natural mutation from a single gene or getting letters from owls, these children are products of human experimentation. Takahata Academy hosts state-of-the-art facilities that allow them to mass-produce genetically modified children who will be part of the Heaven Plan, which I'll talk about later. But there's a catch. They're doing some weird science experiments for 2 things. 1, to create heaven on Earth, and 2, to use one of those children as a vessel for director Shino's brain transplant. You see, director Shino is a very ambitious woman. She wants to see the fruits of her labor, or rather, her team, and see that everything is going smoothly. But humanity's lifespan is not long enough to see her plans come to fruition. She believes that if she dies, no one will lead them to heaven, and it'll be a total disaster, like the Roman Empire collapsing, maybe like a Greek tragedy or something. Shino even promotes Imanaga's daughter, Mitsuki, to deputy director, not to replace her when she eventually dies, but to use Mitsuki's body as a vessel so she can continue working on her project. When Dr. Sawatari questions her about this subtle move, Shino goes on a massive ramble about how she doesn't care about what international law or the world will say about her or the Academy. Goes to show how committed she is, even going beyond what normal people will do, dismissing the ramifications that may arise due to this move. To her, Geneva Convention is more like Geneva Suggestions. There's even a case before where she and her team subjected a child to countless scientific experiments, and the kid doesn't look remotely human anymore. Then, after a few years of experimentation, the kid just offed herself. Fast forward a couple of years, one of the students named Tokyo sees a message. Do you want to go outside of the outside? And so her curiosity was spurred. For the last 14 years, she didn't know the concept of the outside of the outside. It's like that scene where Eren discovers there's a world out there, outside the city walls. Minus the part where he plans to stomp the world to the ground with his meat Gundams. The concept of the outside seems foreign to these kids. Thick concrete walls and a high ceiling protect Takahata Academy. So the concept of outside to them is just what is outside their classrooms and dorms, the field itself. From the get-go, the director has been hiding the concept of the outside from these kids, but she revealed it to Tokyo nonetheless, stating that there is an outside. However, the outside of the outside is a filthy world full of abhorrent monsters. But is it though? Is it actually true that the outside is full of terrifying monsters? Nope, that is a complete effing lie.
So that was a lie.
The world is actually pretty normal, until it isn't. For the last 24 years, Takahata Academy has been mass producing genetically modified children to make them weapons of war. Do you guys remember the Mina prediction that there's an asteroid coming straight to Earth? Well, that became true. Suddenly this asteroid appeared one day, no explanations whatsoever. There were plans to combat this asteroid, probably trying to send Bruce Willis into space and leave him behind to detonate a nuke. Anyway, one of these plans was to shift Earth's orbit to avoid a deep impact. But since director Shino is such an asshat, she sends multiple Gen Mod soldiers to stop this plan. Remember those babies that Tokyo saw? They were the foot soldiers that attacked these orbit-tweaking sites. Eventually, the JSDF finds out about her BS and raids the school. Months later, the inevitable happens. November 11, 2024, at exactly 2:14 in the morning. The asteroid that Mina predicted hits France, turning the entire European continent into a massive French toast. And not in a delicious way. Entire power grids were destroyed, cities were just wiped off the map, and probably 90% or even 100% of Europe's population was gone in a few minutes. Major earthquakes and tsunamis threatened the entire world. Society as a whole crumbles like a Jenga tower, as the remnants of human civilization are pushed back to the Dark Ages. Sort of. Japan, for the most part, didn't take too much damage, but the damage is big enough to reduce the country to its knees. And this is exactly what director Shino is looking for. As society collapses, a new one rises. And so, heaven finally begins. Takahata Academy is heaven, and by extension, the world. And because the world had just ended, director Shino's plan is complete. This is her goal all along, aside from taking in a new host for her brain. And so heaven can finally start, for real this time. The thing is, the Academy itself is like a hornet's nest for deadly superhuman children. She wanted the children to dominate the world as Hiruko, or as man-eaters. But we have no idea where these Hirukos come from, so let me explain the situation. At the start of the anime, one of the kids named Taro had a deadly disease that killed him after a few months. It's not contagious, but the way this plague weakens his body, his superhuman body, is really something. When he died, the faculty cremated his body, and when they pulled out his remains, a core of a Hiruko was found. Let me just call this Hirucore. This Hirucore, though, isn't something that Takahata's staff is aware of. For years, they have been perfecting the Hiruko, and now this new problem is something they didn't want to deal with. But thanks to this new finding, they now know that most, if not all, children were probably infected by this mysterious plague. The plague itself wasn't clearly explained, but it is an autoimmune disease that bypasses the children's unique genetic makeup. When they die, they turn into Hirukos, all while retaining their previous abilities. Remember the first Hiruko that Maru and Kiriko fought? That's most likely a student from Takahata. One of the experts on Hiruko, Dr. Usami, mentioned that when people die, they become Hiruko. While it's not proven yet whether this plague had already affected the majority of humans or if it was just amongst the Takahata students, one thing is for sure. Takahata students are more likely to turn into Hiruko than regular humans. So far, the only human who has a Hiruko is Totori. Taking Dr. Usami's words for it, we now know that these Hirukos aren't exactly human. They're more like zombie monsters. So when an infected carrier dies, they become a Hiruko. Basically, they're still superhuman with abilities, except when they die, they become monsters with abilities. So by definition, Maru, who also has an ability, is also a Hiruko. In his case, Maru is a Hiruko who can end all Hiruko. It's possible that when Maru dies, he will still be able to kill Hirukos. However, since these Hirukos don't retain their human memories, it would be impossible to count on Maru of being of any use when push comes to shove. Hirukos are a plague to humanity, and despite Shino's twisted view of the world as heaven with all these grotesque monsters roaming around, it's possible that somewhere along the line, Maru will have to sacrifice himself to defeat all of them. Not quite sure where to place Maru's death flag as it was not yet raised, but in this world setting, there's a slim chance he will.